Today we're going to discuss the 10 very important things must know for CELPIP, and these are some mistakes that people make, especially when they're going from IELTS to CELPIP, as well as those who are doing this for the very first time. You need to know this and stick till the end of the video because there is a bonus tip that you must know before you do the exam. Let's talk about number one, and we're going to talk about reading here. So reading, the one thing you need to know is it is not in sequence, and that means simply question number one, the answer might not be in paragraph A, two might not be in paragraph B, and it might not be in the reverse sequence. It might not be even backward. There might not be a pattern that you see, and that is mostly what happens, which is why this exam keeps getting more and more difficult. So what you want to do is look at two questions at a time. I always tell you guys, go with the questions first, then go in the passage. So you pick questions 1 and 2, for example. Go in the passage, find the keywords matching those questions, or find similar words related to those keywords because they might be paraphrased. So once you find maybe question number 1 is in paragraph B, question number 2 is in paragraph A. Now you know where they are, you read them, and then you answer the question. Best way to do this is looking at keywords, looking at the question first, and then skimming through the whole passage to find the relevant paragraph. Then you read it, target that for a particular question and answer that, but forget that there is going to be a sequence. If there is, it's a very rare chance and you have a lot of luck with you. Number 2 is writing needs complex sentences. So why do people always fail in getting a 9? You know, reading and listening, relatively easier to get a 9, but a lot of people get 8 in writing, 8 in speaking. And you see their writing and speaking, they have perfect grammar, they have perfect vocabulary, everything is good. By perfect vocabulary, I mean they use reasonable vocabulary, but not great. And that's where vocab and complex sentences come. We're going to talk about complex sentences first. Complex sentences are some things that start with words like if, considering, while, because these words, when you start sentences with them, the sentence is broken down into 2 parts. So while, let's take that example. While I was working in the kitchen, comma, my wife was sleeping in the bedroom. So there's 2 conditions with while. When you start the sentence with it, and examiners want complex sentences, that means your writing is above average, and that's what's going to get you an above average mark. 9 is very, very far from average. So to get a 9, you want to make sure you use complex sentences. Number 3 is similar to that. I actually gave the spoiler earlier. Writing also needs complex vocabulary. So on top of sentences, vocab, which is the exact words that you're using, is also important. That needs to be complex as well. So you cannot use any basic words anymore. You cannot use words like that's why. You want to use hence or therefore. You cannot say however. You want to say nonetheless or nevertheless. You cannot say good. You want to say spectacular or brilliant, magnificent. Every word you have should be made, you should make a perfect attempt to get that word into the best level it can be. You want to open some thesaurus whenever you're doing this? Follow my YouTube channel. You can just subscribe and you'll get weekly vocabulary lessons. Plus, about the complex sentences, I'm going to send you guys a blog post later today, detailing complex sentences. So if you haven't subscribed to my blog, please do that as well. Link is always in the description. Now, number 4 is speaking. A lot of people speak really well. You know, they have perfect grammar. Their content is going to be great. They're going to finish on time. They're not going to say ums or you knows, but they're still going to get an 8. Why? Because 8 is, again, that average or below average level. Above average is 9. And what that means is we don't need perfect English. We need above perfect English, you know, better than better. So what that means is you might think of vocabulary and complex sentences, which is always great. However, a lot of times people miss the fact that they need expressions. So if you're doing the speaking and you're talking to your friends or family, your tone is going to be different. It's going to be excited. So, hey, Bob, how's it going? I heard that. And if you're talking to your boss, your tone should be very serious. Hey, Mr. Bob, I understand that you required this. Different tones with different questions. Excitement, volume goes up, and seriousness or descriptive answers, volume is down, low pitched or medium. But as long as it fluctuates between questions and even within questions, you know, within one particular question, you might start with, hey, how are you? That's an excited greeting. Take care, talk to you soon. That should be an excited greeting. Different pitch levels within the same question show the examiner you're being natural, you're not robotic, and expressions and tone have marks. Number 5 is about listening. A lot of people think listening needs notes, and yes, note-taking strategies are the number one solution to get a good mark in listening. Imagine if you can write down everything they're saying and you can use that to answer the questions, you're good, right? However, you shouldn't take notes all the time. Parts 1 to 3, you should not take any notes. Simple as that. Parts 1 to 3 are very easy, very simple to understand. So a lot of people take notes and they lose concentration of what's actually being said. In these cases, 1 to 3, it's best to listen and focus. Your mind is good enough to retain the information. Keep a pen handy in case there are things like directions or names or dates that you cannot remember. You can write those down, but the overall conversation, don't write it down. However, from parts 4, 5, and 6, you want to write it down because I know it's distracting. However, you cannot remember everything that they're saying because they say too much from parts 4 onward. But parts 1 to 3, don't take notes. The next tip I'm going to give you is about part 5, listening. Here you have the video. You have 2 to 3 people talking with each other. A lot of times we don't look at the appearances of these people. So we don't look at what this person is wearing. We don't look at their glasses, if this person is old or not, even if this person has hair on his head or her head. Because the questions would be, what did the bald guy say? You don't know who was bald, so you gotta listen. You gotta look at the video as well. What did the lady in the glasses say? What did the girl in the skirt say? All these people have their appearances, and you need to look at them to remember who said what. That's important. A lot of people miss that, unfortunately. Tip number 7, part 6 of listening and part 4 of reading, they're both debates. So in the reading last part, there are usually 2 people who are arguing on one thing. And in the last part of listening, there are usually 2, 3, or 4 people who are debating about something. So these are viewpoints. You need to understand them because they will ask you questions about what they are fighting about. What is this person's opinion? Why does the other person disagree? So you wouldn't be able to answer the question if you don't understand where the argument is. As long as you keep it in your mind that there are people arguing and there's a debate going on in those last parts, you would be attentive and know that those kinds of questions might be coming next. Tip number 8 is always mention the other side. Now this is something that can be a game changer, getting you from 8 to 9. Writing, task 2. When you discuss your survey, you talk about your opinion. You also have to talk about the other opinion you reject. So you got to talk about why the other opinion sucks, maybe in body 2. And body 1 could be why your opinion is great. Same thing happens with your speaking part. So when you have that, for example, question number 5 of comparison, people talk a lot about their choice, but remember, the question says comparison and persuading. So if you don't compare, you don't discuss how the other side sucks while your works so well, you lose marks. Talk about both sides. Same thing in every question with speaking. If there's a question number 1, this friend of yours wants to move abroad versus staying at home. So discuss both. The next thing you need to know is that content does not matter. So content, whatever you write or speak, does not matter as long as you simply answer the question. If there's a question about give the date and time of the party and you give the date and time, for example, in a letter, but you simply write this is the date and this is the time, what's the purpose of that? Do you think the examiner really wants the date and time? No, they want to see how you express it. So you want to make it fancy. You want to say the date would probably be 25th of December because of Christmas and the holy occasion. Coincidentally, this is falling on a weekend, ensuring we're all gonna be available. Now, this sentence doesn't just say, let's have the party on 25th of December on the weekend. It explains why. It uses some words. It uses coincidentally, one of the fancy words I could insert here, and it explains the situation. The way I'm phrasing it, how I'm using my punctuation, am I using any complex words? That is what matters. That's what examiners are looking for. They don't care about the date. That is just one example. So whatever you say and whatever you write, make sure it has fancy vocabulary, complex sentences, and descriptions, not just plain answers, because examiners are judging your English They don't care about the content. The 10th thing is the distractions in the CELPIP speaking exam. And if this is your second or third time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you go to the speaking part, everybody is speaking at that time. So if everybody's talking, you cannot focus on what you're saying because you keep hearing these voices. Best way to prepare for this is whenever you practice at home, simply play something, play some news, play some music, maybe put a TV show on Netflix. Put that in the background and speak. Practice speaking because you need to practice speaking with distractions. So please don't ignore that because a lot of people do and they get into trouble when they get into their actual exam. Now the bonus tip, as promised, is something similar to tip number 10. Be ready for the examination environment. Nervousness is a real thing, and no matter how confident you are, this is something that you want to factor in while you're preparing for the CELPIP exam. So when you're at home, you have that pen and paper or that computer, you have your bedroom, you're used to that environment. When you go in the exam, you have a different environment, and it plays with your mind. So what happens is people get nervous. People get nervous, especially with timing. So writing is a good example here. Happens in speaking, reading, and listening too. But for example, in writing, you have 26 minutes to write a task. You practice 26 minutes at home. You're a genius at that. You can always do it. But in the exam, you're not done in 26 minutes because you need extra 3 or 4 minutes of nervousness. This is a time you want to factor in because of the different environment. Your thinking gets slow and you get pressurized. So you want to prepare at home with a little bit of advance time. So if you usually finish speaking in a minute in certain questions, at home try to finish at 50 seconds. If writing is 26 minutes in the exam, at home try to finish your writing in 21, 22 minutes. So the extra time you have, you can always use that. And if you are rushing in the exam or you are falling behind, which happens mostly due to nervousness or just a different environment, you will still be able to control that if you practice well at home. And that's it, guys. Those are my 10 tips plus a bonus tip, so the 11th tip as well. I hope this helps you prepare for your exam, and I hope you like this video. If you do, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you very soon. Take care.